It is a universal human nature trait for us to seek comfort. We are wired with a desire for comfort. When we feel anxious and fearful, comfort is a place where we can regenerate. It makes sense that comfort is such a desirable destination. What I see most often in my work is that people come through my door in a state of deep suffering, pain, and confusion. They feel stuck in a place of chaos, as if standing on the edge of a vast chasm with a deep, unpassable space between them and the comfort they most desire. Comfort is out of reach. We all want to know comfort. There's no age for this. There's no size for this. And there's no race for this. This is a human wish. In my practice, one of my approaches to help build a bridge from chaos to comfort is to get to know the language of our body and become familiar with our nervous system state. As a healthcare provider with a lot of unearned privileges and power, it is vitally important for me to give you the why, what, and how of this approach. Giving you context can help for you to feel safer and more engaged in the process. The way into safety and comfort is through the autonomic nervous system. Neuroscience gives us a great way of understanding the notion that there is not just one you. There are a lot of things in your biology, your brain, and your nervous system that are making you every moment. It really is amazing. All these parts of us in the surrounding world, you might call it the collective nervous system, has an impact on your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. The more I learn about the human nervous system, the more I understand human behavior. I bring the nervous system into my approach in the service of supporting healing and well-being. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are and how the world begin in the autonomic nervous system. Information is sent from the body to the brain, where it is translated into the beliefs that shape daily living. The brain takes this body-based information and creates a story to make sense of what is happening in the body. If you want to change the story, we must first care for the state. As a visual, I invite you to imagine a ladder. Just like the brain, the autonomic nervous system was built over time, with newer systems added onto older ones. At the top of the ladder is the ventral vagal. This is a state of safety and connection. When you are confronted with a challenge that overwhelms the capacity of your ventral vagal system to maintain regulation, you move down one step into mobilization of the sympathetic system in some form of fight or flight. And if that doesn't resolve the challenge, the final move is to the bottom of the ladder into immobilization and disconnection of the dorsal vagal system. The ability to adapt to the changing environment relies on the autonomic nervous system's ability to respond and recover. You know what? We travel this ladder many times a day in small and sometimes extreme ways. Changes in the autonomic state happen in response to challenges of everyday life, and that's normal. Let's talk a little bit more about the ventral vagal system. You don't have to use this word. You can just call it a state of safety. At the top of the ladder is the part of the autonomic nervous system that comes online as the main operating system when we experience safety. Like I said, this state is called the ventral vagal state. When we are operating in this state, we feel safe with a sense of connection to ourself, to others, and to the world. We're curious, compassionate, creative, and engaged. In this state, you might describe yourself as, I'm fine, and the world is okay or even welcoming. In this state, we have different relationships and different thoughts that come up. Our emotions are really specific in this state. What comes up in our body also is a little bit different when we're in a state of safety. And our relationship with food is also really specific. In the ventral vagal state, our relationship with food is likely to be neutral, and our eating style is attuned or connected. This is where we might find intuitive eating. We start to sense hunger and fullness cues and trust them. This is where comfort lives. In the middle of the ladder is the part of the autonomic nervous system that comes online when we experience threat. This state is called the sympathetic state or fight or flight. When we are operating in this state, we have an impulse toward action in the form of fight or flight. We have thoughts that might feel intrusive, or we may have a sense of disconnection from our body. We might feel anxious and overwhelmed, even angry. In this state, you might describe yourself as crazed or toxic, and the world as messed up. Your relationship with food in this state might feel chaotic and distressful, and your eating style reactionary. This is where you might feel even controlling with food and having obsessive thoughts like counting calories. Or you might be thinking, is this food good or is this food bad? Here's where we also see binge eating, purging, and body checking. In the dorsal vagal state, which is at the bottom of the ladder, this is the part of the autonomic nervous system that comes online when we shut down in order to survive a threat that we can no longer fight or escape. When we're operating in this state, we are frozen. We might feel hopeless, helpless, and disconnected. In this state, you might describe yourself as invisible and the world as uninhabitable. Your relationship with food might be dismissive and your eating style disconnected to your wants and your needs. Like I said, it's important and it can be really useful to know when you're in these different states. At the end of this section today, I'm going to give you a worksheet and these prompts here that will help you map yourself in these different states so that you can know yourself better.